Kraken is a legendary sea monster of giant proportions that is said to dwell off the coasts of Norway and Greenland. The legend may have originated from sightings of giant squid that are estimated to grow to 13–15 am in length, including the tentacles. The sheer size and fearsome appearance attributed to the Kraken have made it a common ocean-dwelling monster in various fictional works. History: in the late 14th century version of the old Icelandic saga of Varoddr is an inserted episode of a journey bound for Helluland which takes the protagonists through the Greenland Sea, and here they spot two massive sea monsters called ๊kreɪkən and lineback. The ๊kreɪkən is believed to be a reference to the Kraken. After returning from Greenland, the anonymous author of the Old Norwegian scientific work Knausgårdsjord described in detail the physical characteristics and feeding behavior of these beasts. The narrator proposed there must only be two in existence, stemming from the observation that the beasts have always been sighted in the same parts of the Greenland Sea, and that each seemed incapable of reproduction, as there was no increase in their numbers. There is a fish that is still unmentioned, which it is scarcely advisable to speak about on account of its size, because it will seem to most people incredible. There are only a very few who can speak upon it clearly, because it is seldom near land nor appears where it may be seen by fishermen, and I suppose there are not many of this sort of fish in the sea. Most often in our tongue we call it ๊kreɪkən. Nor can I conclusively speak about its length in ells, because the times he is shown before men, he has appeared more like land than like a fish. Neither have I heard that one had been caught or found dead. And it seems to me as though there must be no more than two in the oceans, and I deem that each is unable to reproduce itself, for I believe that they are always the same ones. Then too, neither would it do for other fish if the ๊kreɪkən were of such a number as other whales, on account of their vastness, and how much subsistence that they need. It is said to be the nature of these fish that when one shall desire to eat, then it stretches up its neck with a great belching, and following this belching comes forth much food, so that all kinds of fish that are near to hand will come to present a location, then will gather together, both small and large, believing they shall obtain their food and good eating. But this great fish lets its mouth stand open the while, and the gap is no less wide than that of a great sound or fjord, and nor may the fish avoid running together there in their great numbers. But as soon as its stomach and mouth is full, then it locks together its jaws and has the fish all caught and enclosed, that before greedily came there looking for food. Carolus Linnaeus classified the Kraken as a cephalopod, designating the scientific name Microcosmus marinus in the first edition of his Systema Naturae, a taxonomic classification of living organisms. The creature was excluded from later editions. Linnaeus's later work, Fauna Suessica, calls the creature singular monstrum, a unique monster, and says of it habitare furta in mare Norwegico, ips non dum animal vidi, it is said to inhabit the seas of Norway, but I have not seen this animal. Kraken were also extensively described by Erik Pontoppidan, Bishop of Bergen, in his Det Forstforsøg på Norges naturlige history, Natural History of Norway. Pontoppidan made several claims regarding Kraken, including the notion that the creature was sometimes mistaken for an island and that the real danger to sailors was not the creature itself but rather the whirlpool left in its wake. However, Pontoppidan also described the destructive potential of the giant beast. It is said that if the creature's arms were to lay hold of the largest man of war, they would pull it down to the bottom. According to Pontoppidan, Norwegian fishermen often took the risk of trying to fish over Kraken, since the catch was so plentiful. Pontoppidan also proposed that a specimen of the monster, perhaps a young and careless one, was washed ashore and died at Ulsterhög in 1680. By 1755, Pontoppidan's description of the Kraken had been translated into English. Swedish author Jacob Wallenberg described the Kraken in the 1781 work Minsan på Jengalijan. Kraken, also called the crabfish, which is not that huge, for heads and tails counted, he is no larger than our land is wide, that is, less than 16 kilometers. He stays at the sea floor, constantly surrounded by innumerable small fishes, who serve as his food and are fed by him in return, for his meal lasts no longer than 3 months, and another 3 are then needed to digest it. His excrements nurture in the following an army of lesser fish, and for this reason, fishermen plumb after his resting place. Gradually, Kraken ascends to the surface, and when he is at 10 to 12 fathoms, the boats had better move out of his vicinity, as he will shortly thereafter burst up, like a floating island, spurting water from his dreadful nostrils and making ring waves around him, which can reach many miles. Could one doubt that this is the Leviathan of Job? In 1802, the French malacologist Pierre Mies de Montfort recognized the existence of two kinds of giant octopus in Histoire naturelle gar copyright rel a particulier des mollusques, an encyclopedic description of mollusks. Montfort claimed that the first type, the Kraken octopus, had been described by Norwegian sailors and American whalers, as well as ancient writers such as Pliny the Elder. The much larger second type, the colossal octopus, was reported to have attacked a sailing vessel from St. Malo, off the coast of Angola. Montfort later dared more sensational claims. He proposed that 10 British warships, including the captured French ship of the line Ville de Paris, which had mysteriously disappeared one night in 1782, must have been attacked and sunk by giant octopuses. The British, however, knew courtesy of a survivor from the Ville de Paris that the ships had been lost in a hurricane off the coast of Newfoundland in September 1782, resulting in a disgraceful revelation for Montfort. Appearance and origins. Since the late 18th century, Kraken have been depicted in a number of ways, primarily as large octopus-like creatures, and it has often been alleged that Pontoppidan's Kraken might have been based on sailors' observations of the giant squid. The Kraken is also depicted to have spikes on its suckers. In the earliest descriptions, however, the creatures were more crab-like than octopus-like, and generally possess traits that are associated with large whales rather than with giant squid. Some traits of Kraken resemble undersea volcanic activity occurring in the Iceland region, including bubbles of water, sudden, dangerous currents, and appearance of new islets. Etymology. The English word Kraken is taken from Norwegian. In Norwegian and Swedish, Kraken is the definite form of kræk, a word designating an unhealthy animal or something twisted. In modern German, kræk means octopus, but can also refer to the legendary Kraken. In Dutch, the verb kraken means breaking or the sound of cracking. Legacy. Although fictional and the subject of myth, the legend of the Kraken continues to the present day, with numerous references existing in popular culture, including film, literature, television, video games and other miscellaneous examples. In 1830 Alfred Tennyson published the irregular sonnet The Kraken, which described a massive creature that dwelled at the bottom of the sea, below the thunders of the upper deep. Far, far beneath in the abysmal sea, his ancient, dreamless, uninvaded sleep, the Kraken sleepeth, faintest sunlights flee about his shadowy sides. Above him swell, huge sponges of millennial growth and height. And far away into the sickly light, from many a wondrous grot and secret cell, unnumbered and enormous polypi, winnow with giant arms the slumbering green. There hath he lain for ages, and will lie, battening upon huge scions in his sleep, until the latter fire shall heat the deep. Then once by man and angels to be seen, in roaring he shall rise and on the surface die. In Herman Melville's 1851 novel Moby Dick the Pequod encounters what Chief Mate Starbuck identifies as, the great live squid, which, they say, few whale ships ever beheld, and returned to their ports to tell of it. Narrator Ishmael adds, there seems some ground to imagine that the great Kraken of Bishop Pontoppidan, may ultimately resolve itself into squid. He concludes the chapter by adding, by some naturalists who have vaguely heard rumors of the mysterious creature here spoken of, it is included among the class of cuttlefish, to which, indeed, in certain external respects it would seem to belong, but only as the anak of the tribe. Pontoppidan's description influenced Jules Verne's depiction of the famous giant squid in 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea from 1870. In Masahiro Anbe's Japanese manga and anime series Squid Girl, the titular character Squid Girl uses the word kraken as one of her Squid Ocean puns. See also, references, notes. External links, King's Mirror.